stays in, get better at by practicing, and I really want to do it. I'm just gonna do it. Hi, it's Nikki. Welcome back to my channel. This video I'm super excited for. This is everything that I've crocheted in my first year of crocheting. I was inspired by my friend Jen. Jen, if you're watching, hi, I love you. Jen has been crocheting for a long time, and I decorated my graduation cap last year with Jen. Jen had crocheted hers, and that was the final straw. I was like, I've been thinking about doing it. I really want to do it. I'm just gonna do it. It was summertime. We had just graduated, so I went to Walmart. I bought a set of hooks and I bought 2 sets of yarn, and I just started. I started crocheting on May 19th of 2024. A lot of the things that I made in this video I made from YouTube tutorials, so anything that has a tutorial I will link it in the description box. I will always give credit where credit is due. Some of the items I don't have with me because they're gifts for people. I gave them away. To start, the first thing that I ever did was this square. I was so proud of it. It gets a little bit smaller, so I lost some stitches, but this is my first ever crochet. My second and third thing was my first attempt at a double crochet. Then I have this where I did a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet. I love having these to look back on. They're so nostalgic to me, and they're proof of my progress. I highly recommend, if any of you are crocheting, save everything that you make. I also think that when I was a beginner, it would have been very helpful for me to see other crocheters' first projects. I then went on to granny squares, so this is my first granny square attempt. This is my second. I honestly wish that I had kept all of them. I remember some of these I made and then I frogged them because I didn't like the way that they came out, or I would frog it and practice again. But these are the 4 that I kept. The next thing that I made, I learned how to crochet in rounds. I thought it would look cool to have a coaster that's just rounds. I believe I made a set of, I can't remember if I made 4 or 6 of them. I made this book sleeve envelope. I started from the bottom and I did the whole thing, the rectangle all the way up with single crochets. For a while I had just left it as the envelope, and then eventually I had wanted to find a way to clasp it. So then I made this orange heart so that you can wrap it and then tuck this underneath to close it. This is my first book sleeve, my first usable project that I made. Before I had made the clasp, I was learning how to make hearts. So I have a couple of these little hearts that I had made to practice because it takes a few different stitches to make these. These are the 2 that I have. The next thing that I did was I made some sunburst granny squares. This is my second one. The next thing is by far the biggest thing that I've ever crocheted. This took me a long time. My first big crochet project was this tote bag. I made this sunburst granny square tote bag. A few months after I had made it, I had made a lining for it, which I hand sewed all of this. I just did a very simple interior beige with an interior pocket. I do love this, but there are some things I think that could be improved. First of all, it can't really carry anything because if it's too heavy, it weighs down the handles. This part of it should have been thicker. I also did too many rows of the top part because now this flops open like that. The next thing that I had learned to do was the tulip stitch. I did a lot with this tulip stitch because it was fairly easy and I found it really fun to do. I made a 3DS case. I sewed on a button to close it. I love this so much. I use this all the time. This is what my DS stays in. I made it with my DS in hand, so I was able to just measure it as I was making it. I think it turned out so cute. I don't think there's anything that I would change about this. I also made, with the same tulip stitch, a book sleeve that had 2 button closures around it and pink yarn. I did gift that. I definitely would make more book sleeves, especially with the tulip stitch. I think that there's a lot of different color variations that I could do with that one, and I think it was so cute. I also made my mom an iPad sleeve. I used white yarn as the base color. Something that I made a lot of, and I mean a lot of, are coasters. They're very quick projects. They're very rewarding projects. It's something that is so customizable. There's different colors, different patterns. They're a great gift for anyone. I've made ones that are just rounds. I also learned how to do scalloped coasters. I've made a lot of sets of 4 or 6 coasters of their favorite color. I would use up my yarn and just make more and more coasters. Something I had done for my birthday this past year was all of the coasters that I had made that weren't in sets. I brought them to my birthday party and I put them around on the tables, and then I told all of my friends that had come, you can take whatever ones you want as kind of like a thank you gift for coming to my birthday party, and they all really loved them and were so grateful. That was very rewarding for me as well. The next thing I made was the first thing that I made that was something that's wearable. It's on a hanger right now. I crocheted this bolero. Unfortunately, I would say overall was a fail just because it was my first time ever doing this, so I really had a hard time measuring it to my body. I had used acrylic yarn, and you're supposed to use cotton for things that you wear, so it's pretty stiff. It's not a very soft material to wear on your skin. I also just had a hard time styling it. It wasn't very practical for me to wear. I am still glad that I made this. I definitely intend to make more wearable crochet things in the future. I've never worked with cotton yarn, but I think within the next year that's definitely something that I'm going to experiment more with. The next thing that I made is one of my favorite things that I made because it turned out so well. It was so much easier than I had thought that it would be, and it was very satisfying to make. I crocheted myself this hat. I used chunky yarn. I essentially made a rectangle going in back loop only, and then once you can hold it up and fit it around your head, you cinch in the top and then you can fold up the bottom. This is what it looks like on. I wore this hat all winter, literally all winter. It's so warm, it's so functional, it's kind of heavy, but it was great for when it was snowing outside. The next things that I made that I would still consider a work in progress, I made a bunch of these pumpkin coasters. I had wanted to add a stem and a leaf to it, but they ended up taking a long time. I made, I think, 19 of them. They are made with acrylic yarn. I think they're still really cute. I had the idea to make them in sets and I wanted to put them in a basket. I could still fix this, especially when fall time comes around, when I'm more inspired to do autumn related crochet projects. I think that I will finish these. The next big thing that I made was a baby blanket. I used chenille yarn. It took way more yarn than I had thought that it would have taken me. I ended up needing to repurchase yarn 2 times. It came out really great. I then, with another type of chenille yarn, had made a bow garland. It was a gift. I'd made it so that the people I was giving it to could put it on their mantle for the holidays, and it turned out super cute. I did have to undo and redo it a few times. I just made a bunch of cylinders and then I would tie it into a bow and then I would interlace them and tie them together. But I thought it turned out super cute and they were really happy with it. I then made 2 more hats. I made these in the same way that I made the pink one. One of them I had actually doubled up on the yarn as if they were one skein of yarn, and it came out really nice because I was not using super thick yarn, but it still came out very warm and more bulky than just using regular acrylic yarn. If you know me, you know that I have a strange obsession with mushrooms. I made mushroom amiguri, if I'm saying that right, like mushroom plushies. I made 2 of these. I made this one and then one with like a mint green that I've given to one of my friends. This was really hard for me to make, honestly. This yarn isn't the best quality of yarn, and so when I would try to frog it, it would rip it, and it would just be a little string with none of the chenille, like velvet stuff. So I had to be very careful. I still don't think that these are what they're meant to look like. I don't think my proportions were exactly correct. I thought that it was supposed to be in more underneath the mushroom top. And I had just used acrylic pink yarn to add in little cheeks because I didn't have any light pink chenille yarn. I absolutely want to make more amiguris in the future. This really didn't take that long to make. The next thing that I made was from a tutorial from Cameron Kane. I made a yarn hammock. I love the way this turned out. I think it looks so cute in my room. It definitely completes that corner of my wall. I think it looks so aesthetic and it's equally functional. I can easily find any of the yarns that I'm currently using. I'll just put them up there. I was gifted a book that has a bunch of different granny squares and how to make them. So I made one of the granny squares. I want to make one of every square in the book. And the last work in progress that I made in my first year of crocheting, I have with me. It is probably a fail. I'm not sure if I'm going to continue this. I attempted to make a basket. This was going to be part of a Valentine's Day gift for my boyfriend. I didn't look at a tutorial or anything. I crocheted in a round and I was expecting it to be like a flat circle, and then I would stop increasing it and just do it up and then maybe add little handles. It took me way longer than I thought it was going to take me, and I ran out of time before I had to give him his gift. It also started concaving up like this. I think I could just frog this whole thing or make it into something else. You can definitely see where the increases go in each row. That is everything that I made in my first year of crocheting. My tote bag was by far my biggest project. I think I'm still learning a lot. I've only made 1 wearable item, well, besides my hat, but 1 clothing wearable item, and it didn't go as planned. I made 2 of 1 amiguri, and I've made a lot of coasters, but I have a lot more projects in mind, especially now that I'm starting my YouTube channel. I look forward to doing more vlogs and challenges and seeing what I can make within this next year. I can't believe that it's been a year already. Looking back now at this list that I made, I crocheted a lot more than I thought that I did, but I also know I can make so much more in the years to come. It takes me less time now to make things than it did when I first started. I think it's a very rewarding hobby. It's very fun to do. If you're excited to see what else I make, then I hope that you come along on this journey with me. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. I had a great time making this. And I'll see you in the future with my next cozy hobby or crochet videos. Bye!